catching this on the Coaches College Small Business Development Center page, and we've got one half of the Ask M&M duo. We've got Mark here with some great updates about all of the resources that you all have been hearing about for small businesses in this time of COVID-19. And we also have another special guest. She's not an M, you all. You all have been seeing the patterns. Not an M today, but still so very important. Mark has just recently brought on a new employee into the Small Business Development Center office, and this is her debut. Hi, Colette.
Hello. Nice to be here. I don't think I've ever live streamed before, so this is like brand new.
So even more. This is even more monumental. The first Ask M&M with just one M and your first live broadcast. So that's awesome. So thank you all so very much for tuning in. I see Victor is on. Hello. Continue to drop your questions. If you have questions, don't keep them to yourself. Let us know. Mark is going to give us an update on the latest and greatest as it relates to the PPP and the disaster loan program. But before he does that, he's going to tell us what Collect is doing and how Collect's supporting the mission and kind of helping you keep the SBDC working at full steam ahead in order to serve our small business community.
Colette, first, I'm going to just say a kudos to Colette. And I got to say kudos to Coaches College. Colette works for the Center for Lifelong Learning. And because I had an overflow of work, Colette stepped up and says, hey, can I help? And I needed some help. And so Colette is kind of the backbone for me. It's like I'm sending her all kinds of stuff. She's doing the constant contact blast for me. I'm sending her stuff. Hey, get her registered here, or send this email, or do stuff like that. So it allows me more time to do one-on-one conversations with people. So I got to thank Coaches College for allowing me to do this. I got to thank Colette for actually stepping up and saying, hey, yeah, put me to work. So Colette, my question is, we can't give away any confidential information or anything like that, but what were some of the things that we have you doing that you didn't think we did?
Well, the constant, I didn't know like anything about SBDC. I knew it was called the Small Business Development Center, and I chatted with Rachel every once in a while. But just going diving in super deep to the SBA and find all the IRS stuff and all these international trade stuff, and just getting really deep into the business aspect of things, kind of more than just the small businesses, and getting into just what's going on in the economy, a lot of economics, and just bringing all that stuff in. So it's been very interesting. And I'm it's funny, I'm playing on two teams right now with CLL and SBDC, but I still find myself looking at stuff when I'm perusing on Facebook and trying to, just look at random stuff, and then people will post stuff about the PPP and the EIDC, and I'm like, oh, hey, I know what that is now. And before I didn't really know what that kind of stuff was. I had a feeling about small business loans and stuff, but I didn't know it was so intricate. So that was super interesting for me to find out. And then chatting with Mark usually every morning. But just playing on two teams right now, it's just really building my knowledge of, what's going on in the economy. And so it's really beneficial, and I'm really happy to be helping out with SBDC right now. So, yeah.
Let me give everybody a quick update, okay? As we know, the House right now is currently voting on the passing of the next round of funding. A good thing that I'm looking forward to is actually, it looks like, and we don't know until they say yay and the president signs it, but all indications are looking pretty good that we're going to know something by tonight. The big thing that I like to see about this is they actually added more money for the disaster loans, which was a huge thing to me. Is remember, there's 3 programs here: the Payroll Protection Program, the disaster loan thing, and then there was that $10,000 advance that you may be eligible for. The payroll protection one, that one actually is there to protect your payroll. And you have to go through a lender, or now they have what they call non-banking people that are eligible to submit the application for you. I was overly surprised and pleased to see this. Now, let me give you some if you have not gotten a PPP, or if you applied through someone and they're kind of like the window's closed, you can't find any information out, you don't know the status of your application, did it even get accepted, I got a confirmation number, is it en route, what's going on, okay, kind of a thing. This is the way I look at it, okay, and I sat with some SBDC, SBA people a couple days ago on a early morning conference. This is like movies to a show. We know there's only so many tickets, okay? And so if there's 3 lines purchasing tickets, some lines move slower, some lines move faster. Guess what, guys? Get in all 3 lines, okay? And so even if you've applied for through, and you don't know the status or you can't find out what's going on, there's other lines you could get into now that weren't there before. Now, you're not going to get arrested. You know what I mean? Let's say that first line goes through and you get your loan and you have your numbers, and then line 2, all of a sudden that shows up. Well, they're matching your names, your business names, and EIN numbers, so it's going to get kicked back out. Okay. If for some reason you get 2 of these, well, give it back. I really doubt if that's going to happen, because the first one that actually goes through after you get your confirmation, then that whoever that lender was or the person that processed your application, they're submitting it to the SBA after they confirm some things. And the confirmation of those things then gives them a loan number. And so, boom, you're in. Now things go into the process phase. Okay, and you'll before this, there might be some back and forth from you and the person that submitted your application. Prove to me what your W-2 wages are, or some information like that will go back and forth between you and the person submitting your application sometimes before they submit. And so, if you don't have, and I encourage you, the first place you need to go is your bank. The bank that you normally do business with, go and see, are you processing PPP? If you were processing and you stopped, if more funds get put into the kitty, are you going to process new loans? And also, do you know what the status of my application is that I processed with you a couple weeks ago? And see if they can answer those questions for you. And like I say, in the meantime, it's okay to go to one of the other places. I know PayPal is doing it. This is really interesting to me. QuickBooks, they actually have a branch of them. If you're doing your payroll through them, it actually auto-fills some of the stuff on your application, pulling it right from QuickBooks. And what a great third-party verification, kind of speeds some of the processes up. Cabbage was doing it. There was several other alternative lenders. If you need that list, please send me an email, okay? And I'm going to give it to you real slow. schmittm@cochise.edu. SCHMITTM at COCHISE, did that one real quick, .edu. But anyway, if you missed that, phone number 520-515-5478. Call. We're operating from our homes, as you can see from these beautiful backgrounds. But I'm answering, I have access to answer that phone line, and I'm going there as often as I can. I'll pull down 10, answer questions, go back, pull down 10, answer questions, go back. So that's the big thing, is how to get a hold of me for more information, so we can keep you updated as this goes along. Huge thing, if this gets turned back on, I want to explain the PPP, because a lot of people are not understanding what it is. The name of it is Payroll Protection Program. The idea was to keep everyone working. So this is your payroll, okay? And now you're going to see the applications. The question they ask you is, what is my payroll? Okay, and you can easily figure that out by what your payroll is. And let's say you have last year's payroll, divide by 12 to come up with a monthly payroll. to what it is. If you're a self-employed person and you've done your 2019 taxes, there's a thing called, net income that you're paying earnings on, gross sales minus your expenses. And let's just say it's $48,000 divided by 12. That means 4,000. So that's your monthly payroll. Then you take that times 2.5. So what does that give you? $10,000? I don't have a calculator right by me. But anyway, I'm pretty close. So that's what it is. So I get my $10,000, walk out the bank, or it's going to be deposited electronically. The day the money hits, that's when everything kind of starts. Within 10 days, you have to spend part of the money. After 8 weeks or 2 months, you go back into your lender, and then you're going to say, hey, I spent this much on payroll. And you could spend some of this on utilities and some of this on mortgage or mortgage interest. But it has to be 75% on payroll. Okay, so that's the part that gets forgiven. When you go back to your lender and you show that I spent $8,000 on payroll, then they're going to forgive that. And remember, you borrowed $10,000, so you still owe $2,000. Well, that money's still in your account. You can pay it off right then and there. Or it converts to a loan. And this is changing. I remember when it first came out, it was 0.5, then it went to 1. It's the maximum of 4%. And initially, too, it was 2 years. Now I heard this morning it was 10. I have not verified that, is to, stretch it out to that length of time on the PPP. And so, like I say, this is changing. It's going to change again. I'm hearing on the new bill, before farmers and ranchers weren't eligible. I heard anecdotally that they are eligible now, but I haven't read it, haven't seen it. And yesterday morning, our confirmations with SBA was, until this gets passed, until we see it on our desk, we have no new information. Okay, so, as much as this, what I'm telling you now is going to change, and it's changed throughout it. I had a CPA, I was listening to her webinar this morning, and she basically said, man, there's a bunch of stuff in here that they're changing as we go forward. Things like, eligible payroll expenses, vacation pay, sick leave, but yet things like the employer's share of Social Security and Medicare was a part that wasn't included.
Wow.
Yeah, so you need to have some good help when you're spending this money. And also, too, as you go forward, there's some people, it was kind of an interesting statement, is a lot of people don't have proper accounting. If you don't have proper accounting, it's like you're going to have a tough time applying for this. Because they're going to need this information, and they're going to ask you to, okay, download that payroll that you said you had. We need a third-party verification of payroll, or at least give us some, 1040s, or, give us, some W-2s. We need some backup proof to show that you had $10,000 in payroll. So they're going to want that information. And even when you go back to get your deferred part of it, you're going to have to actually show that, okay, this is what I paid from a W-2 to an employee as part of my expenses. Okay. And if we're in that, another one too is a lot of people laid people off. You know what I mean? So you're actually supposed to, the way it's kind of written now, is to bring back your force by April 30th to be back to at least 75% of the workforce that you had. So if you had 10 people on the payroll, sounds like 75%, 7.5. How do you split a person in half? I guess part-time maybe might do that. But anyway, we can't hire little people. Yeah, I'm not, in a bad way with that. But you have to at least then have 75% of your workforce, so that's telling me that's 8 people brought back. If you don't, it's not like, okay, we're going to penalize you and throw you in jail. It's that your amount forgiven could be decreased proportionally to the amount that you didn't bring people back. Remember, this is payroll protection to protect your payroll. Little things in here, like in 10 days, you need to have started spending down. It makes sense because they want to get people back to work right away. So let's say they give you this money and you don't pay anybody. They want you to get money in people's pockets fast. So the Payroll Protection Program, there still are people out there right now, even though if you went to some banks are like, the window's closed, but there are some alternative lenders, and there are some banks and credit unions. We have a local credit union that just came online, and they really want to help. They want the butcher, baker, candlestick maker person. They want the small businesses to go through their credit union to apply for this. So reach out to these people. They're here to help you and to assist you. That's the PPP. Now I want to talk a little bit about, because I had a person call me, Mark, I got $5,000. What am I supposed to do? Go ahead.
Before we get to the other one, we've got a question specifically about the PPP that I want you to clarify. Does the 75% payroll expense of the PPP cover the taxes, the DES and IRS, as a result of the business payroll?
Some are, some aren't. You know what I mean? And so you need to really, really, really look at the rules, get with your CPA, get with your accountant, or email me a specific question, on it, because there are some that are being included and some aren't, being included.
Wow.
So it was like, I was actually reading, it was kind of interesting, is cash tips, vacation, sick leave, healthcare, retirement, state and local taxes are some things that are excusable, on it. So it's very specific of the ones that are, the ones that aren't. But some federal taxes might not be eligible to be included in the average payroll. So that was like a broad brush stroke, but I think the main answer to that question is, man, get with a professional, get with the CPA, and get it answered. The CPA I was online with this morning that we were discussing that, she says, man, there's going to be lawsuits 10 years from now trying to figure that one out, because a lot of people really don't know what is and what isn't on it.
Wow. The only thing we can be sure about specifically with the PPP is that if they only use it for payroll stuff, then you can almost be sure that it's going to be okay, that it's going to be forgiven. And
unless let's say that you didn't bring back 75% of your workforce.
True.
That there could be a proportionate amount of it not be forgiven. But the thing I kind of like to see, at first I wasn't in agreement with that 75% thing. And then now it's like, that actually does fill a gap there. Is, let's say that you brought back 8 people, but you had payroll out there because you're thinking you could bring back 10 people and something happened. Let's just say somebody found another job, or you might not need that all 10 of them and only one, but it sort of left you like a little cushion there where, hey, I can put some rent and or some utilities to still be made whole, to have a portion of that forgiven, as long as 75% was spent on payroll. So that's maybe I don't think it was intended that way, but it actually worked out, I think, kind of in a way for that particular one.
Flexibility is definitely the name of the game.
Yeah, it's kind of a good thing.
All of these programs. So, Mark, what was the other program that you were about to mention?
Yeah, this one, this one really had me kind of, how do I want to say, people come to me all the time, Mark, where's that grant to start my business? And there's no such thing as a grant to start your business. It just isn't there. Yes, there's some foundations sometimes that give you money, or special funds that give you money. And there's some of that out right now. The Service to Herald, they actually there's a marketing thing that if you do some marketing with them, definitely get a hold of Jennifer from our Service to Herald, because it's a pretty good program. And there's some foundations around that I'm seeing do some things. There's some national things that I'm seeing that's out there. But this one here, this was the $10,000 that everybody thought. And I've heard senators online, C-SPAN, get your $10,000 grant. Well, this is what it really turned into, okay? This was an advance loan on the disaster loan that you may be eligible for. Get those hands in real close here. And that may be forgiven, okay? And it turned, everybody thought, wow, I'm going to get $10,000. Well, this turned into $1,000 per employee, up to a maximum of $10,000. Wow. So I had someone just last week said, Mark, I got 13 employees and I got $10,000. Where's my other $3,000? The maximum was 10. But guess what? Another one called me up and said, God, I got 4 people. I got $4,000. Someone called me up and said, Mark, I got $5,000 in my checking account. I'm afraid to spend it. What should I do? And so this is incredible. You know what I mean? Because this $10,000 advance, what it actually turned into was the disaster loans, which is a fund that's normally there. Matter of fact, 8 years ago when we had the fires, I had 2 people from the SBA sit in my office and fill out disaster loan paperwork. Katrina and all these hurricanes and stuff, it's a disaster loan problem that they have a team of people that go around and do this. Well, this was a national disaster. That actually March 20th, Arizona was declared a disaster zone. But this is an economic disaster loan. Our house didn't get burnt down, or a flood didn't flood us away. They told us to shut our business, and I got no sales coming in. And so the economic disaster loan, and here we'll follow this formula. But anyway, if 1 million people applied for this, they were out of money. 3 million people applied. They were going to get back to you in 3 to 5 days. How are you going to call 3 million people up in 5 days? No way. I mean, they'd still be calling 5 years from now, I think, trying to get a hold of that last poor person that signed up for this thing. And so they had to come up with, how can we get money in people's hands real quickly? That's where that $10,000 emergency thing came in. They actually changed the online application to basic, simple things like, what's your gross sales, what's your cost of goods? Then it's pretty much, what's your address, what's your phone number, give us your bank routing number. Well, some people actually got, in the last couple of weeks, even since it's been shut down, it was yesterday. What have we been shut down for now? 5 days? We're on day 5 where they ran out of money? Well, last night, someone got $5,000 deposited into their checking. Did you get some? Did you get money?
Friends that yesterday and the day before, just magical money just got dropped in there.
Happy days. I verified this with Craig Jordan, regional SBA guy, and that is a grant. You do not have to pay that back.
Wow.
Okay, so what I'm telling you now, look in your junk mail, okay? Because I've had people that have gotten, and it wasn't in their junk mail, it came to the regular mail, because part of that is an emergency advance on your disaster loan. Doesn't mean they're gonna get the disaster loan. They might just get $5,000 or whatever they got. But I had one client, he actually, in his email, he had to submit some more documentation. As far as like his, tax earnings and payroll, he had all that stuff. He uploaded it to him. Guess what? He got 98,000. Okay. Wow. What the disaster loan is for, okay, it's for your other expenses. And you can count payroll into that. Payroll, rent, it's 2 separate programs. The Payroll Protection Program is a separate program from the disaster loan. Okay, the disaster loan, to me, I think it's the best one for the businesses, because this is through the U.S. Treasury. It's not through any lending institution. Okay, if you get the loan part of it, you don't make any payments for a year. Then when it comes time from the day the money gets deposited, a year later, you start making payments at 3 3/4%. And nonprofit organizations are eligible to receive this money too at 2.4%. Okay, and then you amortize it over 30 years. So it really brings your payments down. But this is eligible expenses. There are other things besides payroll, rent, and utilities. You might have a payment on a truck. You might have a payment to an accountant. You might have other expenses that have nothing to do with payroll, utilities, rent, or mortgage interest that's eligible for a disaster loan. So how do you arrive at how much money do you get?
Yeah.
So you were asked to start on that one. All the people I had apply for it is to list on a piece of paper. Usually you can break down your monthly expenses from P&Ls and from things that you do. Get your monthly expenses and divide by 4. So you get a weekly average expense. Then multiply times 8 to get 2 months. And so that's what your loan was. So therefore, like, making things easy, let's say monthly was 4,000. So I divide by 4, so it's 1,000 a week. And then I take it times
8.
8 weeks, that's $8,000. And that's what my loan would be, is $8,000. Okay. And that one, then you go on your merry way to spend it. there's no forgiveness here in that part. That's a loan, converts into a loan. The forgiveness part of that was the advance emergency assistance thing. So you might have already gotten $4,000 or $5,000 to help you pay for some of those other expenses. Another one too is there was a confusion from that, because they expected people to get the disaster loan forgiveness, advance part. And so when you go to apply for the PPP part, there was a thing on plus your disaster loan money. Well, you can't hit the bucket twice. You know what I mean? And so there were people that were advising to keep the disaster loan separate. Don't spend it on payroll. Don't spend it on rent, or don't spend it on interest if you get the PPP, because go for the PPP for that stuff. And use that disaster loan money for other expenses that aren't payroll, rent, or mortgage interest, or utilities. So that here's the big thing now. Okay, so right now, what can I do? Okay, if you got money, okay, make sure you're spending it properly. If you got money that you think you shouldn't have got, send it back.
Yeah,
because they're going to find you. Yeah, they're going to find you. They'll sniff you out. Yeah, it's ridiculous. We've all seen the stories. Oh, good God. It was incredible. Some of the people that got money. This one guy had 10,000 employees. I don't even know how that. He applied for different locations and got it. And then when you added them all up, that's where he came into the big thing. And these people, they've been snuffed out, and they were told to get the money back in there. And so anyway, if for some reason something goofed up and you got to something and it's not right, send it back, because this is actually to help if you took and somebody else needed it, you're hurting that other person. But anyway, so if you got your $5,000 or $2,000 or up to $10,000 emergency loan advance, deposit it into your checking account. Check your junk mail to see if you've had any correspondence by the emergency disaster people, because that's your cue where they're asking you to provide us more information so we can arrive at an amount for emergency disaster loan. People are still being processed. Okay, and the House was voting right as we came on. They're about halfway through it. They have, the way I saw it before they voted on this thing, is they were putting more money into the disaster loan part. So if that hits, you want to, and if you don't know how to do it, and if you don't know how to get a hold of me, it's another one. Get the Sierra Vista Herald. There's a column we do every week. It's called Ask M&M. Below that column, it's got my email address and phone number. See the logo on my shirt, Cochise College. I bet if you call the receptionist or something, they know how to get you plugged into me. Get a hold of Monique. She knows how to plug into me. And so we will help you and send you these links. I'm not going to fill your application out for you, or I would be too swamped, but you'll see it's simple, easy peasy stuff. It really is. It's a lot of it is just your name, address, phone number, bank routing numbers, EIN numbers. You need to know all that kind of stuff. You need to know what your expenses are. What is my monthly average payroll? As a business owner, you should know that. Okay. As a sole proprietor, take your net. If you haven't done 2019 taxes, please try and get them done. But you can generate some profit and loss statements to actually generate that stuff. But the word they're still saying is I'm a sole proprietor. I don't pay myself W-2 wages. And I did show $48,000 was my net income from my 2019 income tax return. So divided by 12, that shows that you were paying yourself indirectly $4,000 a month. So that's your monthly payroll. Let's talk about 1099s. Okay. A lot of questions came up. If you're receiving 1099s, okay, I'm a contractor. I work with all kinds of people. I'm an independent person. I don't get paid with a W-2. Well, add the 1099s up. That's your income. Mm-hmm. Divide that by that multiplier. Now, if you're paying 1099s, okay, not a payroll expense, that person you're paying a 1099 to, they need to go and fill all this stuff out. They should be a business if they're a 1099 worker. You know what I mean? this is a interesting one too. Is someone before I came on, made a statement. I'm not calling them out or anything. It's a lot of times people, they don't know. It's called, should I have a business checking account? Or because the banks charge a little bit more for that. They want to have minimum deposits and all that. Here's the interesting thing. It's not a legal requirement to have a business checking account, but the bank might have some banking rules on personal and business checking accounts. If you're an LLC and you have a personal checking account, and you should have a business checking account, you might just throw away and pierce that, what they call corporate veil, and be personally responsible because you're not acting like a corporation. What kind of a corporation is running stuff off a personal checking account? So there could be some liability responsibilities that you would have. Shop around, with different banks and stuff, because they all have different fees and different do's and don'ts and can'ts and won'ts. But shop around to get the one that you feel is the best deal for you. And it might not be based solely upon what their costs are. I mean, I've had business checking accounts at different branches because they were nice people. This one is, I loved it because they had branches that were open longer than other ones, so I had accessibility to them. So there's a lot of reasons. Or I remember one, they actually had a deal with one free business checking a year. And so I went there, and that was a good bank. I stayed with them for a long time. There are certain things. I remember there was one bank that was a money service business for something I was doing. There was only one bank in town that would allow you to be a money service business and have a business checking account. So they all have rules, and so you got to kind of follow them. But strongly advised, if you have a business, have a business checking account. It's the best thing. I mean, if you actually get rid of petty cash. I'm not a fan of that. And if someone pays you $100 to mow their lawn or do their hair and it's cash, deposit it into your checking account. That's a sale, okay? When you do an expense, it's not like I'm going to go to McDonald's. I'm going to go to, I don't want to call anybody out, Burger King, McDonald's, let's say Wendy's, and eat hamburgers all day long on my business checking account. That's really maybe not a business expense. And so you want to run your sales and your business expenses through your business account and not commingle. A lot of times you see this as far as like debit cards, personal debit cards and business debit cards and commingling. Try to get a consolidation loan if you've done that. Good luck. Ain't going to happen, because they don't want commingling going on. And so that's a good way too, if you have a business checking account, that you can separate your business expenses from your personal expenses. And you want to know this anyway. So at the end of the day, am I making any money in that business? How are you really going to know unless you separate that? And at the same point in time, it's like you're looking at that thing and say, yeah, I only have a couple $1,000s this month in here, and I need that just to live off of. What else can I do in my business to get more money in there? Rather than not deposit cash and live off that, and so not have to worry about the other things. It should be a business, and you should run it that way. So enough of my lecture on that one. But it's huge. It really is. I think probably the most important thing that you should learn as a business owner going through this is we all are hearing, it's going to happen again. And so maybe you did get caught flat-footed. You don't have proper accounting going on. I ran a business for 25 years. I was self-employed, and the only thing, and I have degrees in accounting. I teach accounting. I was an Intuit supervisor. What kept me in business? I had a CPA. I see people all day long, and you can do this if you want to do it, is they pay $800 for QuickBooks, great program. You probably could have paid an accountant $800 to do your books for the year, so you probably could have did your business. I'm a plumber, I know how to install toilets, you know what I mean? Or I know how to do plumbing. Let's get an accountant that knows how to do accounting. And also, too, be real cautious that I don't know how to lightly say this, but I'm going to say it, is there's people that are bookkeepers that are really good bookkeepers, okay? And there's ones that aren't, and so really be cautious and careful with that, part of the whole thing too, is, a funny thing too is everyone thinks that an accountant or a bookkeeper or a CPA, they have this secret sauce where they can give you this special secret deduction. No, it's not. It's pretty cut and dry. It's either income or it's a business expense. Yeah, there's some things that you can do, but there's no secret sauce. I always got a joke I tell people. Yeah, my accountant saved me $2,000. You know how he did that? That's funny. I told him you need to cut your fees you're charging me by $2,000, or I'm gonna go see somebody else. Yeah, they deserve the money that they're getting, but that's kind of the joke as far as like, how your accountant's going to save you money. He's going to save you money because he's showing you how to properly do your books. You know what I mean? And so, man, I can't stress that enough. Is to get that part done. It's probably I do a lot of business plans, and people come to me doing business plans, and the first thing I'm going to start you out on is cash flow statement. I'm going to morph into that. I want every business owner out there right now is to at least do a 120-day cash flow statement. You know what your expenses are. That's the easy part. The top part of the cash flow statement is forecasting your sales. You need to start doing that, because even if we've been in business for 20 years, normal considerations, we can easily see if I was doing $30,000 a month, well, I'm probably going to do $30,000 a month next month. We don't know that now. You know what I mean? Because are these businesses going to turn on with a drip? Or are we going to overflow the sink? Because did we do something right now to help increase our sales? And I talk way too much right now. I want Monique, we'll put her on the kind of thing here she's got all kinds of ways to make you probably think about increasing your sales. So go ahead, Monique. Let's talk about that part.
Yeah, I think right now, I just sent an email to my list right before we got on, talking about kind of adopting a mindset of making sure that our businesses are healthy right now. Just like we're talking, and as need be, talking about how to be healthy in our bodies and make sure that our families are protected, we have to apply the same mentality to our businesses and figure out what ways that we can either serve our current list of customers better, meaning offer them something else, or expand by maybe creating something different and expanding who we can put that product in front of. I have 2 online businesses. I've my only type of entrepreneurship has really been online. I have leveraged the internet since 2010 to do business online. And now at a time like this, I'm grateful to have had this and had the opportunity to learn from the school of hard knocks of how to kind of navigate this online space, because I see businesses that have been brick and mortar or very traditional really stumbling, trying to figure this out. So I would say first is to look at what you're paying for. Mark, you were talking about this, and I was just thinking about, especially in the online world, we have softwares up the wazoo. We're using a software right now to do this live broadcast, and people are paying $19, $10, $29, $49 a month for tools and software that they might not even be using. So that was the first thing I did. The first thing I did was look at, okay, what are these monthly expenses and where can we cut? And I also saw overlap. There might have been something that I was paying monthly for that I have another alternative that still does the same thing that I have lifetime access to. So why am I still paying $10 a month for something that I'm not even using? So I did that first. And then I really started to get clear on what my audience needs right now. So we talked about this in one of our earlier episodes, Mark, where I made it a point to call out how every business, the businesses that are present right now online in TV commercials, their messaging has shifted, rightfully so. And any business that wants to kind of weather this storm and plan to continue to thrive even in the midst of this has to change their messaging and figure out what it is their target audience is looking for. What are those magic words that they're looking to hear, and create and manufacture your product in a way that suits that. So if Burger King can air a commercial talking about burgers and fries, which is what they sell, and deliver the message of, we provide our product to help you take care of yourself while you take care of others. Any business can do that. Any business can do that.
It's a funny one too, is I had a series of thrift shops, okay? And you hear this, oh, man, I came in and my employee was on their cell phone. We were saying, hey, get on your cell phone. We issued them cell phones. We wanted them talking, about, hey, look at what we got for sale. You know what I mean? And they were then sending messages to their friends. It's kind of the story and me and Monique have talked about this. And there's a company out there that actually, it's a franchise. They have this thing on Mother's Day. Give mom a free ice cream cone. And then Billy and Susie and dad will come in and buy one. So we gave one free, but we sold 3. But now we got to wait till Mother's Day. How about 3:00 this afternoon? Just tweeting an ice cream cone and say, you want one? Come and get it. You think some people would come and buy them? You're not discounting anything. About 3:00 in the afternoon, you might get me every day, with that kind of a message. But I mean, it's kind of another one. This is, I don't want to throw anybody out or give anybody ideas, but this was a person that actually had a service, and they had gotten the software to be able to stream what they were doing. Okay, and it was like, wow, what an opportunity. I know my grandkids, if they saw that live stream, what they were doing, they'd want to get on for like half an hour a day, I don't know how many people they can serve, but a lot of these online things can take thousands of people at a time. So if you got 1,000 people coming in for $20 a month, good God, I would definitely be doing that. And you wonder with opportunities right now, how many, my grandkids right now, I'm telling you right now, for $20, they'd be in. For it, because they're looking for something to do. And my daughter would love to probably have them be doing something like that for probably 20 minutes a day or something like that. So if you've got a product out there that actually can be marketable that way, good God, push the buttons and do it.
Yes. People are still buying, people are still spending. Everybody is still spending. They're just doing it in a different way. And I think the responsibility, but it's also a challenge for small businesses right now, is figuring out, including that flexibility. Because, we're creatures of habit. And when you've ran a business for years, you get very used to doing things in a very specific way. And when something like a pandemic comes and just upsets everything, we have to, and Mignon mentioned this in one of our earlier conversations, we have to have that resilience muscle and be able to figure out how we can be flexible. What can we do differently now that will still allow us to serve and still allow us to be present, especially online, because that's where everybody's attention is at right now, and figure out what we can offer to our audiences that serves their needs for the moment. We did with my 2 businesses over the last 2 weekends. We went and kind of did a whole revamp of our website homepages for both businesses, keeping in mind that this is what it is for right now. In 2 months, it's going to have to change, because we want to make sure that when people are searching for the products and services that we offer, they're finding our homepages and they're getting a message that speaks to them at the time that they land there. So I think it's very important for businesses right now to really, business owners, to challenge the limits of what they thought they could do, challenge their tradition as well, because even once all of this is over, I don't feel like we're going to go back to the way it used to be. We're going to have a new normal. And if we're planning right now for the normal that we had at the beginning of the year to come back and we won't have to change anything, we're setting ourselves up for disappointment. So yeah, and I think the beautiful thing, I just love it for everything that it allows me to do. Doing broadcasts like this and connecting with people from all over the world is an amazing opportunity that we have. And I would hate to see local businesses cease to exist because they're not able to adapt.
Here's another one I want to talk about, and you find I repeat a lot, but it's for a reason, is sometimes when we redo these things, we're thinking of more. More is less right now, okay? And so I give the example of, if we're going to redo our websites, and they changed it again because they changed it a lot, but a few months ago, Apple, they had a website that came up, and that you saw the cell phone. and on the cell phone it said, "Say hello to the future." Everything, and that was the word on the iPhone. Everything else was white, and it had two buttons: buy one or more information. I'm a busy person. I don't need more information. I just need a phone. And so, boom, push the button. You're right into buying it. If I want more information, I can click on the more information stuff, but it needs to be intuitive. It needs to be something quick. I'm not going to sit there and read 10 pages, or I go to these websites and it's like, oh my God, where do I go? What do I do? I guess I'm out of here, because there's just too much to do. And so you need a call to action and make it a simple call to action. Maybe really take a good look at your website. Maybe you can start eliminating some things that you think are so important and put them on the more information page.
Yes.
If you're trying to sell something, man, let's get to it. I want to buy it. I don't want more information right now.
Yep.
And the person that does, they have the option to get that, but make the shopping experience more easier by doing less, not more.
Yeah.
And so that's like a huge marketing tip going forward too. Besides what Monique said, is the first thing I sit down with people, let's plot your geographic region. Where are you selling to? And where do you want to sell to? Primary and secondary markets. And then finding out and figuring out who you're going to sell to and what's the message that person wants to get to be able to receive or to want to buy. Bottom line stuff.
So I was going to say something of what Monique mentioned about kind of changing the way that you're running things. We've had to do that at CLL because almost like 100% of our classes are face-to-face.
Right.
So we ended up having to cancel our classes, but now our program coordinator and myself and department assistant and everybody, we've kind of like put our heads together and thought about classes that we can do via Zoom right now. And we actually have a class coming up in May. It's a body and mind yoga class, and it starts on May 6th, and that's going to be via Zoom. So it's like it's brand new territory for us because our demographics are, geared towards people who are retired. Mm-hmm. And so we kind of have to teach, some of them are computer savvy, but, others aren't. So we have to get them, learning about Zoom, learning about how to work the computer. So it's just brand new for us to have to do for them and for them to do to get classes. So in the future, we're thinking about how we can implement virtual classes in addition to face-to-face classes. So this is new territory. So, I mean, the whole COVID-19 thing it sucks that it happened, but at the same time, it's like, it kind of expands our demographic, so we can get more people for classes that they want to take, things they want to learn. So I think it's partly good that we're going this.
Yeah. Look at the people you're going to reach that you weren't reaching before.
Exactly. And
what do you charge for that class? Do you know yet? Do you know what you're going to charge?
It's $40 for 4 sessions. So it's a class.
How long's the session? An hour?
An hour. Mm-hmm.
Wow. $10 an hour.
Yeah. So and I've put together the Zoom meeting, and I've myself learned more about, the virtual stuff. And I myself am tech savvy, but I didn't know a lot about Zoom. So now I've learned that. So, it can really help by, like you said, Monique, changing the way that you've done things before, just being fluid and, making sure that your business can expand. I think this COVID-19 thing, it's sucked, but I think it's actually helping people in some ways, especially business-wise, because they can now, if they've done the brick and mortar, they can move to virtual.
Yes.
So I think it's partly good. So
another one too, I'm actually working with 4 separate people that are working on launching new businesses or expanding an existing business. And there's about $2 million out there that that's in the pipeline now for loans for starting of these businesses. And so one of the businesses really have nothing to do with the coronavirus. It was just something that they wanted to do, and it's actually a good business. Wished I'd have thought of it. You know, it's so don't stop. If you have some good ideas, continue on with your business plans or things that you're thinking about doing. The other three are right up the coronavirus alley, because we know this is going to be around for a while.
Yeah.
You know, it ain't kind of going away. I want to do, before I forget out, is kind of a shout out with Mignon Hollis. And I'm sorry you aren't here today. And she's had some problems with her mother. Her mother's in Tucson. And so they're working through those. We'll kind of keep you posted on, what's going, on with that. We hope for the best, with that whole thing. And we'll be working with Mignon, through this thing. And like I say, if you're friends of Mignon, do a shout out to her, put her mom in your prayers. And we're all wishing for, I don't want to say good things to come from that. But that's kind of the reason why she's not here today. We weren't going to do the show, and then we said, yeah, we need to do the show because there was just too much stuff that was going on that you guys needed information on. We're going to do this show again next week, and Monique's going to talk about who's going to be on the show next week.
So next week we will have a representative from Ann Kirkpatrick's office giving us more information about maybe state resources that may be available. And updates on just what's happening in our state. Governor Ducey did his town hall yesterday, basically announcing that the stay-at-home order is still in place until April 30th, I believe. But some regulations have been relaxed. So by next week, who knows what we'll be talking about? And I think that's why it's so good that we're doing these weekly, because the information is changing by the minute. So being able to, kind of collect everything to provide you all the most up-to-date information is what doing this show is all about. So to stay tuned for next week. You will see the graphics coming out and the alerts coming out about next week's episode with our guests from Ann Kirkpatrick's office on the Arizona Regional Economic Development Foundation page, here on the Cochise College Small Business Development Center page, and definitely via email as well. I am all about digital marketing. I love all of the pieces of the stool. It's your website, it's your social, and it's your email. So use all three. And I love that with getting these shows up and running. That's exactly what Mignon and with Mark have been doing, because we see what happens when all three pieces work together. So
anybody see any questions we didn't answer from anybody?
No, Victor was the last comment. He said, thank you for the valuable information.
Okay.
It's been good. And I think, again, the fact that people don't have questions, to me, is a good sign, because they're getting the information that they need. I would just encourage you all, continue to ask your questions. Mark's information, his contact information is in the comments. It'll be updated in the caption of this broadcast as well. So you all can contact him directly via email or by telephone. And again, if there's somebody that you would like to hear from on upcoming episodes, let us know, and we'll get them. The great thing about having two resources like EDF and SBDC in our community is Mark and Mignon are the pipelines for the information that's coming from the state and from the federal government. They are a wealth of information, a valuable resource that I think we should be using. I think we should really have them working right now, so that they're giving us everything we need to know, so we can plan and plan to grow our businesses, plan to be able to maintain throughout this experience and continue to grow even after this is all over. So I'm just excited. I'm grateful to be able to have this conversation with them every week and introduce those of you that are watching to even more valuable information, relevant information that I hope helps us all as a small business community.
For me, in closing, I want to say, if you're frustrated, no one's helping you, you don't know what to do, I'm not going to solve your marital problems or anything like that. But if it has something to do with business and you've applied for one of these things, I'm here to help you. Okay. We'll find out. We'll try to answer the questions. If I don't know it, I'm going to get you to the person that will. The big thing is I need follow-up. So if you call me and you say, hey, Mark, what about this, this, and this? And I give you this, this, and this, and then it still doesn't work, I want to know. You know what I mean? We want to, and we want to also hear the success stories. It was great news for me too. When I heard somebody got 98,000, somebody got 5,000, somebody got 8,000, somebody actually got 250,000, and they weren't scamming the system. They needed it. They're keeping people on the payroll because of it. You know, so some of these programs you hear about, a lot of bad stuff where all these people are getting gazillions of dollars. They don't deserve it. I work with the small people. I'm not processing anything for anybody big, you know, and I know that from the conversations that I'm having with you. And like I say, it's the barber shops, it's the handyman fix-up guy, it's the guy that owns a store and he has 40 or 50 employees. You know, that's the kind of people. It's a daycare center that has like 12 people working there. That's the people that I work with. It's the small businesses that are, like I say, roughly 73% of the business in the United States are small businesses, you know, producing 50% of the goods. You know, and that's the ones that I'm working with. And so if you're a small business out there and you haven't, because you are eligible for all these programs, you know, so make sure that, and I'm not saying get what you have deserved to you, because these programs, you're deserving to get these, you know what I mean, if you need them, and they're there for you. But the biggest thing I can say is run that cash flow projection for the next 120 days. You know what your expenses are gonna be. You know what I mean? Forecasting what your sales is a little challenging. And so especially the more challenging it is, the more unknown there is, the more you want to know. So to sort of see where you're at. You know, we want you to, when this thing ends, we want you to open and be open, and you might have to do business in different ways. Well, let's put our heads together and think about what's some different way that I can get more money into my business. Okay?
That's good.
So,
do you have any final thoughts before we end this week's broadcast?
That's pretty much it for me. I don't even have a good joke to close with. Usually I got one.
What about you, Paulette? Do you have anything? I know you're still getting adjusted and getting used to being on the SBDC side of the equation.
Well, it's funny because like going in both departments, you know, CLL, we're basically like our own little business if you think about it. Yeah. And then going over to SBDC and helping out over there, it's kind of like take what you learn at SBDC and implement it into CLL, and or you know, or vice versa. Yeah. So you know, dipping into both teams is kind of beneficial. You know, and I'm seeing it as a lot of professional development, you know, possibly for the future if something happens and, you know, my husband and I want to open a job or open a business or something, you know, so I think it's great. It's, you know, dipping into both sides. I think it's really beneficial.
I think it'd be an interesting thing to some of the things that you'll bring from CLL to make us a better department too. Because I think even with the three of us in the room, with CLL, with Monique and myself, there's all kinds of things that we can do for training online that we might be able to implement. And we need to do it. We need to actually do it.
And any ideas, anything that the public wants to see from CLL that we can offer, you know, if anybody wants information from my program coordinator, I can get that. She's in charge of creating our programs. So anything that the public wants to see, you know, businesses, we do contract training. So right there, that
big deal.
Is a really good thing that could intertwine with SBDC is contract training, because I know some businesses, you want your people to learn QuickBooks or you want your people to learn, you know, Excel better or something like that. There's always classes that we can try.
I completely forgot about that one too. Is we used to do the quarterly QuickBooks, and we have CLL do them. And this week I actually emailed Anna some resources to get some free resources from QuickBooks. If you want to learn QuickBooks, CLL teaches that class quarterly.
You know? We do. And now, right now, with COVID-19 and stuff, we're still in the inner workings of going virtual. So this is like brand new for our department. So just bear with us. We're trying to do the best we can. Anna, I think, is doing fantastic. You know, and we have Barbara Richardson. She's our dean, so she's helping us out. So it's just basically we're doing the best we can with what we got. So
shout out to Anna. I used her for my Spanish interpreter.
Anna is amazing. She is fantastic.
Yeah.
So I think she's actually listening.
Oh, good. Hey, Anna, hello and thank you.
Awesome.
I want to say one last thing, and this is about unemployment. Okay, is like their systems are totally overwhelmed right now. There was some people that have had to go in there 3 times today to just apply, and they kind of kept getting booted out. And it's kind of like, don't give up. Okay, if you receive a letter from unemployment to say, oh, we need this documentation by this date, and you look at the day and that was 2 days ago, don't throw it away. They understand communications and things are slow. You're not going to be zonked because you got something to them on a wrong date right now. If you are, man, I want to know about that one too. But they're not doing that. It's just, like I say, remember, 17 people handled this. They hired 175 extra people, and they're training them, and the software isn't sometimes set up to allow self-employed people to apply. And so it's causing stresses on the whole system, and it's just, I'm sorry but we got to hurry up and wait, to be patient with the system. But like I say, if you're having problems, don't give up trying to get into that system. And sorry, the answer is you just got to keep trying, and you kind of got to keep trying, on all that and everything that we're doing now. So that's kind of my last kind of thing is keep trying.
And
I'm going to keep trying.
That definitely applies to all of it. All of it.
Yeah.
So this has been a really good conversation. Again, you all that are watching, stay tuned for the info about our representative next week from Anchor Patrick's office. It's still going to be a great conversation. Continue to share the broadcast. If you are watching this and you know of a business owner or local business owner that needs this information, I encourage you to tag them in the comments. Share this within your networks as well. Continue to reach out to Mark for the support and the help that you need. We are keeping Mignon and her family lifted in our prayers and covering them and make sure that everybody is okay. And those of you that are watching, do everything in your power to keep you and your loved ones and your family safe and healthy during this time, because you can't have a healthy business if you as the business owner aren't healthy. So definitely take care of yourself, take care of your loved ones, and take care of your business.
One last thing is Mignon, take care of yourself now too, and hope your mom gets better.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. So thank you, Colette, for being here and everything, all the great things that you all are doing. That's so exciting to hear what CLL's making that transition.
Of course.
This is going to be so awesome. So
bye. So long.
See you all
next week.
Bye.
We got to play that Roy Rogers song at the end of this thing. We got to get